Here with Richard BLECH with Secure Channels, who we've had before. He keeps coming back for more because, see, there's this security thingy. And so we're going to talk about security as a service, sort of, because it seems like no matter how many times you tell people, so what are the big issues with security? Is it data? Is it their infrastructure? Is it their networks? Is it their strategy? Is it their approach? Or if I hit like 5 of the 10 things that it is, or what? Anyway, welcome, by the way.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It's always a pleasure and look forward to this event. It's great, and we always enjoy being here. So look, there's a lot of things happening. We have data as a consumer. We have data as an enterprise in various places all throughout our network, all throughout our infrastructure. And protecting it is very difficult because there's so many ways of access from the outside or the inside to get to that data. So to come up with solutions that are best available using best practices to protect your critical or sensitive data is really what the approach has been for what we go about doing, looking at a business model.
But this is a challenge that evolves. Are you in the business, it's not really a yes or no question, but are you in the business of trying to stay ahead of the bad guys,
We always try to do that, but the good guys have to run based on regulations and compliance. The bad guys, they don't follow any rules. They go by their own rules, and they just are always, and they're well funded, depending whether they're state sponsored or what the case may be, capable of getting into systems and being very, very savvy about doing it. So that is a good question. From the aspect of encryption, we have taken that approach because there is the discussion and the advent of the more closely approaching use of quantum computing. And while there are lots of NIST-approved algorithms and solutions set up for quantum resilience in the near future, we are looking to provide some security now for infrastructure that will be long-lasting to be quantum resistant, so you don't have to replace it later when it becomes more of contemporary in the market.
I've read a little bit about qubits and the things that are going on with quantum computing, and I think it's terrifying though, because by quantum, generally speaking, people really do mean a quantum leap. I have a feeling these systems are more powerful than those of us who don't work on them can imagine. It's terrifying to me. And so, is it true, or what do we do if there are systems that can unencrypt anything you throw at them? You have layers of encryption. You must have to worry about performance at some point with it. Data is not just data. There's so many things you have to protect differently. It's terrifying to me. How do you really seriously dig down and address this emerging issue?
Well, it is an emerging issue, and it's a massive issue at that. And part of the problem is that the attack on our sensitive data is current and ongoing. And I'm speaking about encrypted data. There's plenty of breaches out there where the attacks have been against infrastructures that have not chosen to encrypt. But now we're speaking about financial institutions and other banks and other big companies that hold data that have value now and in the future. They're using encryption. The problem is that encryption, while very secure and would take billions of years to break now under classical computing, the Chinese, for the most part, are winning the race right now for quantum computing. They're harvesting mass amounts of our encrypted data, and they will, with the mind of decrypting it later using quantum power, and that's where the concern is.
Oh, I get it. Collect the data now, and you have this patience. Yeah, our systems today is going to take 1 billion years, but we're working on it, and someday it's going to crack through, and once we get that, we can see the patterns. So even though if your encryption seems to be changing, you're still following an approach. So how do you stay ahead of this? So how do you devise new ways to encrypt? This is definitely not my expertise in actually devising this. If you could explain a little bit, and there's people that can hang, how you actually do it.
So it was about having a stronger encryption system, a crypto system that would have the characteristics to be quantum proof, to last for the periods that would be needed for long future proofing of the data that it would be preserving. So you want to take that approach and also all the rest of the security stack that would be involved, thinking future, and that's including in our hardware devices, not just data itself, but IoT devices that would take an enormous amount of effort to replace because there's billions of them, and it only takes one faulty or low secure IoT device out there somewhere. It could just be a sensor that holds some data, but that could be the way that gets into an infrastructure to get into the rest of the data. So it's really taking a very holistic, broad approach, thinking about future proofing, not just the current period of time that we're in now.
And that said, at that end, at the other end, there's still people making fundamental basic mistakes that they should have stopped making 10 years ago.
There's always the human error that always seems to be where it is. Technology is rarely to blame. It's the implementation by humans or the human function itself. There's no question about it. A significant majority is due to human operations.
Good news is you always have business as long as that goes on. How do people find you? Website, social media, all that? How are they going to find you?
We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, but mostly you can find us at securechannels.com, and also our security encryption as a service platform called SCIFCOM. That's SCIFCOM.com. Thank you.
That's the place to go. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for watching. For Cloud Expo TV, this is Roger Struckoff.